Hello everyone. Today we will see the mean deviation for normal distribution. In previous lecture, I have told about the quartiles and quartile deviation of normal distribution. So here is the formula to calculate mean deviation. The variable x follows normal distribution with parameters mu and sigma square. Then we know its PDF is given by this formula. Then we will calculate mean deviation, that is expected x minus mu by integration. So integration of modulus of x minus mu into f of x dx. Now we will substitute the PDF here. The constant term will get outside. Integration from minus infinity to infinity. To solve this type of integration, first we will make a substitution. So let y equal to x minus mu upon sigma, then x will be mu plus sigma y and dx will be sigma into dy. Further, the range of variable y will be from minus infinity to infinity. So let's put all these values here. We will get mean deviation so here sigma into mod of y into e raised to minus 1 upon 2 y square sigma dy. So here sigma will get cancelled. We will have integration from minus infinity to infinity, modulus of y, here sigma upon root 2 pi, e raised to so here we can note that this integral part is even function in y. So we can write 2 times integration from 0 to infinity into y e raised to minus 1 upon 2 y square dr. This is written because this integral part is even function in y for this range. Now we can solve this integration. We will solve this by using gamma function. So we have this gamma function. So we will make use of the gamma function. Sigma upon root 2 pi into 2 times 0 to infinity. Here I can write y raised to 2 minus 1 and now I will have my n equals to 2 and here a will be half. So into this 2 upon 2 and half raised to 2 upon 2. So I have used here this function. So expected value of x minus mu, we will have final answer as this sigma upon root 2 into root pi and we will have 2 here. So finally root of 2 upon pi into sigma, which will be approximately equal to 4 upon 5 sigma. So this is the mean deviation about mean for normal distribution. So we can compare mean deviation, standard deviation and quartile deviation with the relation quartile deviation is approximately equals to 2 upon 3 sigma. Then we will have the relation between standard deviation, then mean deviation and quartile deviation. So it will be 1:4/5:2/3 sigma. Then it will be 15:12:10. So in this way we can write down the relation between these deviations. Now we will see the next point, which is additive property of normal distribution. So we have already calculated the MGF of normal distribution, which was mxt equals to e raised to mu t plus half sigma square t square. So we will use this MGF while writing the additive property. So let's write down the result. The result 1 is, suppose x follows normal distribution with mu1 sigma 1 square, and this y follows normal distribution with mu2 sigma 2 square. Then additive property means the addition of two variables x plus y. This will follow normal with mu1 plus mu2 and sigma 1 square plus sigma 2 square parameters. So now we will prove this property by using MGF. We can write MGF of x as e raised to mu1 t plus half sigma 1 square t square. Similarly, we can write MGF of y Now we will have property of MGF. So mx plus y of t equal to mxt into myt. So this is written from the properties of MGF. So I will substitute here the values. And finally we will get mu1 plus mu2t plus half t square into sigma 1 square plus sigma 2 square. So here we will use the next property of MGF, which is uniqueness property. So from that property we can see that this is the MGF for normal distribution, and we can write down x plus y follows normal distribution with, this is the first parameter mu1 plus mu2, which is coefficient of t here. Then the second parameter is sigma 1 square plus sigma 2 square. So since this is the MGF of normal distribution, so by using the uniqueness property of MGF, we can write down the distribution of x plus y, which is again normal with these parameters. This property can be generalized to n variables also. Generalization can be written as, suppose x1, x2, xn, these are n variables, and we can write down, suppose xi follows normal mu I comma sigma I square distribution. So this is the given information. Then summation of xi will follow normal with summation of mu I comma summation of sigma I square. So this can be proved by using the MGF. So here we can write mxi of t equals to e raised to mu I t plus half sigma I square t square. Now m summation of xi t, this equals to product of, so this is the property of MGF again, and we will substitute the value e raised to mu I t plus half sigma I square t square. Due to this product sign, we can write e raised to summation of mu I t plus half into t square into summation of sigma I square. So here, by using the uniqueness property of MGF, we can see that this is the MGF for normal distribution. So summation xi will follow normal distribution with the first parameter summation mu I, and this is the second parameter summation of sigma I square. So this is the generalization for the given property. We can write down some corollaries. Suppose we are given that x1, x2 and so on xn are IID normal variables, means x1, x2 so on xn, these follows normal mu comma sigma square. So here parameters are the same since they are independent and identically distributed variables. So in this case also we can write down summation xi will follow normal distribution with n mu and sigma square. So this is the first, and x bar means the mean will follow normal with mu comma sigma upon, so this is sigma square upon n. We can prove this corollary by using MGF property. So now we can write m summation xi of t equals to product of m xi of t. So here it is the same. So mu t plus half sigma square t square. We are just taking the product of same terms n times. So that's why I can write e raised to n mu t plus half into n sigma square t square. So this is just n times, and by using the uniqueness property of MGF, we can write this summation xi will follow normal with the first parameter n mu and next parameter n sigma square. So this is the proof. Then to prove this, we have formula for x bar, which is 1 upon n summation xi. So we can write m x bar t. So this can be written by using the property of MGF. So this is summation xi into t upon n. So this I have written by using the property of MGF, which will be further, if we substitute the values, we can write down e raised to, or we can write down this product of m into summation xi t upon n. Then we will substitute the value here. So it will be product of e raised to, here I have to write mu into t upon n plus half sigma square into t upon n bracket square. So now we will take this product sign inside. So e raised to n times mu into t upon n plus half this n times sigma square t square upon n square. So which will be e raised to mu t plus half sigma square t square upon n. And by using the uniqueness property, again I can write this x bar will follow normal with mu comma sigma square upon n distribution. So this is the additive property of normal distribution. We can prove some results like this. So if x and y are normal variables, then we can write down ax plus by plus c. So we can write down the distribution of ax plus by plus c as normal with a mu1 plus b mu2 plus c and a square sigma 1 square plus b square sigma 2 square. So here we are given that x follows normal mu1 sigma 1 square and y follows normal mu2 sigma 2 square. So this is the given information and we can prove this result. So ax plus by plus c, it will follow normal distribution with these parameters. So this can be also proved with the help of MGF. So m ax plus by plus c of t, this can be written as m axt into m byt into mct. So this I have written by using property of MGF. Again we can write mx of at into my of bt into e raised to ct. Further, by substituting the value of MGF, we will get e raised to mu at plus half into sigma 1 square. Here I have to write mu 1. So sigma 1 square a square t square. Similarly, e raised to mu 2 bt plus half sigma 2 square t square into b square into e raised to ct. Further, I can combine all these terms and we will get e raised to this mu 1, a mu 1 plus b mu 2 plus this c plus half into a sigma 1 square plus b sigma 2 square t square. So here by using the uniqueness property of MGF, we can write down this. So ax plus by plus c, this will follow normal with this first parameter. This is multiplied by t. This is first parameter and this is a sigma 1 square plus b sigma 2 square. So a square b square. This is the second parameter. So by using MGF, we can prove this kind of result and we can further generalize this result for n variables also. If we put a equal to 1, b equal to 1 and c equal to 0, then we will get the result for x plus y will follow normal distribution. So for a equal to 1, b equal to 1 and c equal to 0, we will have x plus y will follow normal with mu 1 plus mu 2 and this sigma 1 square plus sigma 2 square, which we have just proved. If we put a equal to 1, b equal to minus 1 and c equal to 0, then we will have x minus y will follow normal with mu 1 minus mu 2 and this will be sigma 1 square plus sigma 2 square. So in this way, by substituting the various values of a, b, c, we can write down such kind of result. Further, this result can also be generalized for n variables. So here we have written this for only 2 variables, but generalization can be written for n variables. So this is all about the additive property of normal distribution. Now we will see the next concept, which is central limit theorem, which can be written as CLT. So this is very famous concept in normal distribution, and due to CLT, normal distribution has wide applications. So this is firstly, its statement was given by Laplace and de Morgan. So the statement is, suppose x1, x2, so on xn are random sample from, so it is random sample from probability distribution I am writing the statement of central limit theorem. So suppose x1, x2, xn is a random sample from probability distribution with mean expected xi equals to mu and variance of xi equals to sigma square. Here sigma square and mu are finite. Then the distribution of z equals to x bar minus mu divided by sigma upon root n. This converges to standard normal distribution as n tends to infinity. So this is the statement for central limit theorem, or we can write z equals to summation xi minus n mu divided by root n into sigma. This will also converge to standard normal distribution. So many times it happens that it is not easy to calculate the distribution of summation xi or x bar for any distribution. So in that case, this application, that is central limit theorem, is used, and any distribution converges to normal distribution, and by using normal probabilities we can find out the distribution of summation xi or x bar. So as we go on increasing the variables, any variables, or increasing the random sample, this is x1, x2, so on xn. So as we go on increasing this n, means random sample, any distribution will slowly converge to normal distribution. This is the statement for central limit theorem. And if any distribution seems like to be symmetric, bell-shaped, mesocutic, and the 67% area lies between mu minus sigma to mu plus sigma. Also, if mu minus 2 sigma to mu plus 2 sigma, if 95% of area lies between this region, then it will be good to say that the distribution is normal distribution. So let's see one example. Suppose xi follows uniform distribution, that is standard uniform distribution. Then as we go on increasing the number of xi's, it will converge to normal distribution. We can see that the distribution of x1 plus x2 will be triangular shape. If we take x1 plus x2 plus x3, then it is almost bell shaped. So as we go on this random sample, we can see that the curve looks like bell shaped, or it becomes symmetric. So it is good to say that if we are going to increase the random sample, then distribution will converge to normal distribution. So there are many applications of this CLT, and due to CLT, this normal distribution is very famous, becomes very famous. So because if X follows Bernoulli distribution with 1 comma p, then also as we go on increasing the number of trials, we will have the normal distribution. If X follows binomial distribution with n comma p, so this is the first. So Laplace-de Morgan theorem states that if expected x equals to np and variance of x is npq, then x minus np divided by square root of npq, this will converge to normal distribution with 0, 1. proof of this statement is not included in your syllabus, but here we can see that x is a binomial distribution and distribution of this transformation is converging to normal, that is standard normal distribution. Also the next statement is given. So if x follows Poisson with parameter m, we know that expected x is m, variance of x is m for Poisson distribution, then x minus m divided by root m. So this will converge to normal 0, 1. So statement of these two theorems is not included for SY BSc statistics syllabus, but there are only these two statements. So this is the application of central limit theorem. It has wide range of applications in many fields. Suppose variance of x bar is sigma square upon n. So this we know that the variance of x bar is sigma square upon n. This can be proved as 1 upon n summation xi. So here 1 upon n can be taken like this. So summation of variance of xi. Suppose the variance is sigma square. Then we can write this n and 1 n get cancelled. So sigma square upon n. So variance of x bar is sigma square upon n. So as this is the standard error, as we go on increasing this n means the sample, then standard error decreases. Suppose we take n equals to 4, then variance of x bar will be sigma square upon 4. So standard error is reduced by 2 or reduced by half here, because 4 is the we should take its square root for standard error. Then variance, if n equals to 100, then variance of x bar will be sigma square upon 100. So standard error is reduced by 1/10 of this. So these are the applications of central limit theorem in normal distributions. Hope you enjoyed this lecture. Thanks for watching me.